Welcome to the Monday Monologue. This week we're going to touch on a few topics of breadboarding versus building it in chassis. The other thing I want to do is a little review of the potential roadmap for this channel and something else really excited on the horizon that I'm planning on building here before the end of the year. First, let's talk about the subject of whether to breadboard a circuit on a bench before you put it in a chassis or just building it and modifying it in the chassis. I know a lot of people like breadboarding the amps first, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I prefer to just build the amplifier. I'm pretty confident that the circuit designs that I'm using, for the most part, this isn't rocket science being reinvented. A lot of this stuff has been tried and true circuit designs that either come from the tube manufacturers themselves or they're circuits that other people have built that turned out well or combined pieces of other circuits. And so I don't feel that most of the designs are very far off from where the final product is going to be. Sometimes I'm fooled, like I was with my 300B amp, but it wasn't that big a deal to unsolder the whole front end of the amp like we did here on this 300B and rewire it as a Cascode. And the other thing that I feel that I would be missing, for me personally, breadboarding stuff, is I like to listen to the amplifier in the setting that I'm used to listening to it in. And if it's out here on the bench, there's no way to hook it up to my system upstairs with the speaker placement that's pretty fine-tuned and the turntable placement that's fine-tuned and all of that sort of thing to really hear what it's going to sound like. Plus, I feel like that there is influence on the sound of the amp and the amount of hum and distortion by how it's wired and the lead dress. You know, if the lead dress wasn't important, we wouldn't be needing to twist wires and put them in the corners of the amps. And I found from experience on my preamp that if you don't do the lead dress right, you're going to have problems. And so I'm not sure how you would really address those sorts of things benchmarking, or would you be assuming, well, that'll go away once it's in the chassis, and it may or may not. So you're not going to see me doing much breadboarding, if any. I'm going to be doing most of the stuff, building the amp, wiring it up, testing, rewiring, and you may see in some of my prototype amps some of the solder joints look a little clumpy or whatever. Well, once you start soldering and unsoldering joints several times, the look of the solder gets pretty ratty looking. So anyway, as long as it's got a good solid electrical connection, I don't care. I know some people are really, that's the craftsmanship kind of thing. And I think, if I was building an amp from a known good schematic and I was just duplicating them, that I know I can do really clean, nice looking solder joints. But in my own personal stuff, I don't care as long as it works. Next, the roadmap for this channel. I'm not really sure where this whole Skunkie Designs thing is going. That the YouTube channel is starting to do fairly well. I'm just a little shy of having enough subs to get to the next kind of level of YouTube's sponsorship kind of thing where they help me promote the channel more and that kind of thing. This could just end up being a cool video channel where I share my hobby with you. I know people are, I want to buy one of your amps. I'm not sure that I really want to spend my time and the rest of my life sitting around soldering up one amp after another in production. I just don't think that's really what I want to do. I could see at some point doing a kit kind of a thing where I sub out the chassis fabrication to one of the local fab shops here in Atlanta, and then sell a kit with the chassis, the basic parts you need, and then let the user buy whatever output transformers they wanted to use and whatever tubes they want to put in it with some suggestions. I could possibly see something like that happen because there's not a lot of labor then on my part other than just putting the kits together and boxing them up and mailing to you guys. And the joy to me in all of this is the building of it, not just buying this and plugging it in and listen to it. I mean, there's thousands of other people that are building, amplifiers or selling audio products that I don't really need to get in competition with. The other problem is things like this Bowie Range A50 that's selling for $1,000 is a 300B amp. Well, the parts for me to build my do-it-yourself one was almost what this amp cost assembled. And people are going to try to compare, well, it's a 6S7 300B amp. Why are you asking $2,000 for yours when I can buy this one for $1,000 off Amazon? This really does bring the price point down to where it's just not profitable to build hand-built amplifiers and sell them. And I'm just not sure how much market there would be out there for, a $1,500 to $2,000 300B amplifier. So, all that said, not sure where we're going with all this, but as far as what this channel is going to be doing, we're going to finish up the 850. We had fantastic success with the DIY 300B amp. Got the BOM and the final schematic with the voltages on my website. You're open source. Y'all are free to build that, and I hope some of y'all do. I think you're going to be amazed. That final little resistor tweak made a huge difference. My plan is to put all of that technology into this amp. Rewire the front end. The power transformer has the capability of making the voltages that I need. And so this should be basically a duplicate of that amp once I get this rewiring done. So this could be another way of getting to that point of having a really nice 300B amp without spending a ton of money, is buying one of these and doing my mods to it. There is going to be a third stage of the modifications that I want to do to this amplifier once I get it really sounding great. I want to move these power resistors onto some heat sinks and do some cleanup of some of the wiring. I want to put some grid stoppers on the 300B tubes. I want to try some nicer coupling capacitors. So it's going to be like a stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and I'll have all the price points and all that done with bombs and schematics and everything when we get done modifying this thing. Once I get this guinea pig amp shipped back to the nice viewer that sent this to me to modify, we're going to work on our phono stage. Had lots of people asking for a preamp phono stage. I would like to rebuild another one like I built with a little different chassis layout to try to get rid of the last little bit of hum that it has. Even though I can't really hear it from my listening position, it would be nice to get it sounding perfectly clean. So that's kind of the next thing in the timeline. And then we have the 6SQ7 EL34 amp. While I'm working on the preamp, I'm going to be doing a little more tuning on that amp. Now that I have this Analog Discovery 2 and Audio Analyzer Suite, I can see that there's a little bit of distortion that I might try to tune out of it. That I want to leave enough there so it has the nice tubey sound, but I think that it could be cleaned up a little bit. And I want to play around with a little bit of bias changes on the 6SQ7, that kind of stuff. But once we get the preamp done, I've got enough stuff here to build 2 of those 6SQ7 amps using different power supply kind of layouts, and then compare the 2, and then whichever one is the least expensive, easiest to build, that's the one that we're going to use as the model for you guys to duplicate that amp. It's probably half the price of building this amp. It's on, or that DIY 300B amp, and it's on a smaller footprint. It's got smaller transformers and all that stuff, and it still sounds fantastic. So that's another fun project. But what I'm really excited about is one of my pen pals on the internet turned me on to these old 1930s globe-shaped vacuum tubes. One of them's a 47, the other one's a 27. And I really want to try building a amp using these 1930s tubes, but then the rest of it with, this century's technology, transformers and passive components and coupling capacitors and stuff that they just didn't have access back then when those tubes were made. So I found some basically new old stock of these tubes, and they look really cool. The 47 is a direct heated pentode. I think it's the only direct heated pentode made. And so they also run on 2.5 volts on the heaters, so you don't have the hum issues as much as you do with like 300B and the other 5-volt tubes. So I think I'm going to be able to run AC heaters on it, make a really simple circuit. I'm hoping I can get enough drive out of the 27. We'll see while we're playing with it. But I think it's going to be a super cool looking amp. And I was thinking about doing it as like a vintage style. But the more I thought about it, I'm going to do it in my kind of signature Skunkie Designs, black powder coated with the tube rings and the whole bit, where it looks like one of my other amps that uses modern tubes, but it's using these, like 80-year-old tubes from the 1930s. And supposedly those 47s like glow blue while they're running, which will be super cool. So anyway, I look forward to working on that kind of in the background while these other projects are going forward. And that's kind of going to finish out this year, I think. So hope you're enjoying my channel. If you are, please subscribe. I need like this much more subscribers to get over the little hump here to get on the YouTube's good side. And then once that happens, I think that that's really going to inspire me to just do more and more content, because I really love sharing what I'm learning with you folks, and I think y'all are enjoying it too. So please sub, please like, and I'll see you soon for more tube fun and next week's Monday monologue.